Well, we've now traded strikes with Iran for the second day since the peace agreement has completely collapsed. And now we are even closer to what could be a catastrophe. The U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve is now at 19 million barrels, and it is 19 million barrels away from estimated minimum operating levels is what this is showing us. You can see where it says, let me just pull this up full screen. This chart, by the way, goes all the way back to 1989 is the first year on the chart. Let me just go ahead and remove this lower third for you so you can take a look at it. And it goes all the way up into where we are today. And we are here is the yellow arrow. We are really close to that red line. So the Strategic Petroleum Reserves are almost to the point where we don't have any reserves. So what exactly does this mean? Well, does it mean we're not going to have any more oil? No, we produce quite a bit of oil as a country. But what it does mean is we will see inflation when, Donald Trump actually said, he even said that we were, I believe, 2 weeks away. Let me actually look at the calendar. It was June 17th that Donald Trump said we were 4 weeks away from running out of oil. And 4 weeks would be next week, the 15th. And we're on the 9th today. So by next Wednesday, apparently the strategic reserves will hit that red line by next Wednesday. And that means that prices are going to go up. When people, the market, we still have oil. It's not like we've run out of oil, but markets are very reactionary. So when they know that the government can't whisk in and release more oil barrels in order to boost the economy back up, they start pricing things like, oh no, we're at that point. We don't have any reserves left. We have no money in the bank, basically. So we're living paycheck to paycheck. And if a crisis hits, we have enough oil to keep ourselves functioning on a day-to-day. But if a crisis hits, just very much like living paycheck to paycheck, crisis hits, you're screwed. And one thing that is a crisis is keeping the Strait of Hormuz closed. Our war with Iran, them closing the Strait of Hormuz, helped get us to that point. It didn't entirely get us to that point. Let's go ahead and pull that chart back up. It didn't entirely get us to that point. That big dip that you see, that waterfall dip before we get to, and then it kind of built back up a little bit, and now we're back down. That happened in 2022. And that was, COVID was a lot. I think this really started falling off a cliff. It looks like 2020 is when it started dropping, and then it really dropped again in 2022. So from 2020 on is when we see that dip. So we had COVID. We also had the Russia-Ukraine war, and that caused a massive dip. Then we started seeing things climb back up, starting in, looks like late 2022, early 2023. And here we are today at a point where we're closer to the red line than we've ever been. So anything for Israel, essentially, is what this boils down to. We should not be in this war with Iran. We should be packing our bags and going home. We should say, all right, Trump has announced 1 million times, we've obliterated their ability to create a nuke. We have obliterated their military. Okay, good. Job done. Go home. And then we can have the Strait of Hormuz open back up, and we can not get so close to the red line, because once we get over that red line, we are going to see an increase in gas prices, which of course is going to mean an increase in food prices. It means some people are going to be laid off because companies can't afford all the extra gas for the transportation. We're going to see an increase in airline airfare. Everything's going to go up because we're out of reserves. We don't have any money in the bank. So what are we doing? That's the big question. It seems like we're doing anything and everything for Israel. And to make this point, I want to play for you this clip. So Donald Trump said, you might have remembered this just from the other day, that they're wanting to remove Syria from the state sponsor list. Now, Syria, the guy that's in charge of Syria was Al-Qaeda and ISIS. He literally killed Americans. And we've now handed a country over to him because Israel likes him, because he's working alongside the Israelis, is doing whatever the Israelis want. They like him. They didn't like Assad, who was against them. So they would rather have an Al-Qaeda ISIS leader that's in charge of Syria than to have, an actual democratic leader, somebody who's supposedly with our Western values. They didn't put that person in. But this isn't the important point. I just want to share with you this as a refresher. Here's Trump talking about removing Syria the Al-Qaeda ISIS guy who killed Americans, removing them from the state terror list.
Are you going to remove Syria from the state sponsor of terrorism list?
I think I will, yeah. I think I will. Why wouldn't I? He's done a great job. Maybe he would have brought that up in a little while. But that's a good question, yeah. Any problems with that? I think we should. Yeah, I will.
Okay. Now, not only is he talking about removing them from the state sponsor of terror list, but while sitting next to him at this meeting, Donald Trump actually talks about how great he's been for Israel. Because remember, this guy's only in power of Syria. The guy who killed Americans is only in power in Syria because Israel wanted him there. So Trump now goes off and talks about Israel. And in his conversation, he mentions the Golan Heights. Now, pay attention to what he says about the Golan Heights. And remember that the Golan Heights are actually a part of Syria. It's land that the Israelis grabbed from Syria as Trump is sitting next to the so-called president of Syria. This is what he has to say about Israel and their land grab of his territory.
No president's done as much for Israel as I have. Nobody even close. If you look at, just look at all the things with Jerusalem, all the different things that we've done. The Golan Heights, I did things. Nobody has ever done anything for Israel like me. And we made tremendous progress. And we've made a lot of progress with Iran, too. Wiped out their military, but they should have been done 47 years ago.
If I could, do you think that that Prime Minister Netanyahu should be re-elected as elected?
So there he is saying he's been the greatest president for Israel. We know you're a terrible president for the United States of America, but you've been wonderful for Israel. He's sitting next to the president of Syria saying, look, I gave Israel the Golan Heights, that guy's territory, sitting next to him. Now that's important because what we're seeing with these oil reserves is very similar. He's willing to basically sell us out to give anything to the Israelis. The Israelis want a war with Iran. They're getting the war with Iran. Who cares about the American people? Who cares about our oil reserves? Who cares about gas prices? Who cares about the cost of living? To hell with you. Because what he cares about is he's been the greatest president for Israel. And he's willing to give away that guy's land for his country. He's willing to give that guy's country away. And he's been willing to give our country away as well. And getting this low in the oil reserves without actually making a deal with Iran by not controlling Israel. All Iran wanted in the deal was the first point of the memorandum of understanding was control your dog that's supposed to be on a leash. Although now I'm pretty sure we're the dog. We're the ass is what we are. We're an ass. We just do whatever Israel wants. And so Donald Trump sits there and says he's the greatest president for Israel, gives this guy's land away and gives the United States away as well. And then he says, Iran wants to make a deal, but I don't know if I want to make a deal with them. As we're nearing we're nearing the end of our U.S. petrol reserves.
We have many ways we can win, but we've already won militarily. They have very little left, and they want to make a deal so badly. They called a little while ago. They want to make a deal so badly. I just don't know if they're worthy of making a deal. I don't know that they're going to honor the deal. That's the problem.
If they want to make a deal, why do you think they attacked commercial vessels?
Because they're sort of crazy, to be honest with you. They're sort of crazy.
Okay.
They're a little bit out of control, but they want to make it
right.
Badly.
Right. So every time we've heard an Iranian leader speak, they sound quite measured, in control. They sound totally normal. They don't sound hysterical at all. But yet they're the crazy ones. And the reporter asked a good question. Well, if they're so desperate to make a deal, why did they attack the ships? And Trump has no answer for that. And he just says, they're crazy. But you know who's going to be begging for a deal here soon? The United States of America when we hit rock bottom on those oil reserves. That's who's going, and then after those oil reserves, when the prices of everything go up, because we don't have any more reserves, and anything like a hurricane, any sort of tragic natural event, this would be a great opportunity for other countries around the world to say, you know what, now that the U.S. is out of oil reserves, I guess we're going to make our move because they don't have any buffer against the ramifications of what's going to happen when we start waging war against them. So a lot of things happen when you hit these oil reserves. These are not when you run out of reserves. We won't run out of oil. We still have oil. We produce quite a bit of oil, but it puts us in a position where any catastrophe, any unforeseen event, and we're screwed. And the market knows it. And so they're going to start pricing accordingly. And here's Donald Trump saying, oh, it's them who want to make a deal. Well, pretty soon it's going to be us. We're going to be begging for mercy here pretty soon. The question is, how much pain is Donald Trump willing to allow the American people to have to be subject to before he finally tells the Israelis, forget it. We're not fighting your war anymore. We're not doing this anymore. We're doing what's best for our country. You do what's best for you and your country. No one's going to blame you for that. But you do you. We're gonna do what's best for our country. At what point will Donald Trump actually stand up and grow a spine against the Israelis and say, we are the United States of America. We are going to do what's best for the American people. And what's best for the American people is not allowing our oil reserves to run to rock bottom. And instead we're going to pack up our bags and we're going to go home. And we're no longer going to be threatening or dealing with the Iranians. We're just going to go home and we're going to enjoy our low inflation, low gas prices, and staying out of wars. That would be the ideal scenario. But we'll see how long it takes before he cries uncle. Thank you for watching this clip from the full Kim Iversen Show, which you can watch in its entirety, Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. It is free at KimIversonShow.com.